Welcome to the Local Insider Podcast, the show about everyday people who make a big difference.
Welcome back, Ben.
Hey, thanks for having me back over here.
My wife loves your wife's breakfast burritos. We were going to go to the last farmer's market, and I reached out to you to make sure your wife was going to be there. And of course, you guys were on vacation, so we ended up not even going. So that was her sole purpose. I think her mission was to get more of those breakfast burritos. She got 2 of them, and I was not feeling well that morning, so I didn't eat. And she ate both of ours.
Hey, she does a great job. My wife, she makes tamales, makes tacos. You know, it's just what we had for lunch. We cooked up a brisket that smoked over the weekend, and then she chopped it all up. We had rice and beans and tortillas, and she makes all of her own fresh salsa. She does a fantastic job.
Yes, she does. And I guess your daughter made the cookies, right?
Yeah. Taylor does some baking. So, she made cookies and sold cookies at the farmer's market, and we're hoping that maybe they can start doing that when the farm market's open and maybe spin off and start doing some stuff at October days and kind of see how it goes. Yeah,
maybe even like some of the concert series stuff. Yeah. That would be good. Because I know Black Dog and Boonville Vending, the lines get pretty long there if we have a big crowd. So it would help to have other choices, I think.
Yeah, and she does, like I said, she does a great job. Which at the Boys and Girls Club golf tournament, she actually did dinner there one night and had tacos, and she did a shredded pork, almost like a pulled pork taco. Had beans and rice, and everybody just thought it's fantastic.
So she always liked to cook. Did she cook before you guys married?
Oh, yeah. That was
one of the.
She's kept me well fed.
One of the deciding factors. Yeah. You're the one. So what's been going on with you since you were on last?
We've just been staying busy. Everything always just clicking with the police department. We always stay hooked up. Of course, it's almost like anywhere else. Crime never sleeps.
No.
At Tyler Ford in Boonville, trust and tradition matter. For 27 years, we've been your hometown dealer, making car buying easy and stress-free. Our family tradition is built on trust. And when you choose Tyler Ford, you're choosing generations of satisfied customers. With a commitment to excellence and your satisfaction in mind, Tyler Ford offers a range of vehicles to suit your needs. From the latest models to reliable pre-owned options, we're dedicated to find the perfect fit for you. Visit us in Boonville or call us at 479-675-2313. Let us show you why generations of families choose Tyler Ford. Because we're more than a dealership. We're part of your community. Tyler Ford, where trust meets tradition.
No. So you have still have a full force?
Partially. I got a couple of guys that are taking an opportunity to go to state police. State police is handing out a great package right now for certified officers. They've cut their academy down to 10 weeks. So there's several officers across the state. Agencies everywhere are losing guys, and unfortunately, we're losing 2 that have just been outstanding guys to us. Hate to see them go, but I understand.
Yeah. So is the state increasing their force, or they have people retiring out, or what's such the?
So they're, way I understand that they're actually about 85 short across the state as far as troopers. So they're just doing this mass hiring, trying to get some guys out there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's unfortunate for it. But like you said, it's, if anybody is bettering themselves, I can never, hold that against them.
I'll never fault that against anybody. It's a great opportunity. Great pay, great benefits, and so far these guys are getting lucky that they're getting to stay local. There's been a lot of people, you don't get that opportunity. You have to go across the state to start working for them, and then come back home. But these guys are just getting really lucky with what they got.
Yeah, that would. Speaking to one of the former officers here, who, what was it he said he was going to be doing? It may have been state police that he was about to go to work for. But anyway, he was going to be working somewhere over around Bryant. And he said that the pay would be really good, but being that he just bought a home and stuff, and he's trying to weigh the the good and the bad. At first, he'll have to drive, which that's a long drive from Boonville to Bryan. So it's good that the local folks get to stay local. I know it helps for people to know the people that are policing them. You know,
and it does. And in policing, to me, it really takes relationships. I've been fortunate. Of course, we got some other guys that have been with us long enough. We're fortunate that you can build some CIs, confidential informants, and that takes time. You don't come out week one and start getting that kind of relationship. It takes years to build, years of trust that you can trust their information. Plus, they can trust you that you're not going to stab them in the back or throw them out there somewhere. So that takes time to build, and which we've been able to solve a lot of our theft cases because we can go, well, so-and-so is going to know something about that. We can go talk to them. They're always reliable to us, and we can solve a lot of cases that way.
I didn't realize that was that vast, that extensive on the PD level. That's like, I thought that was only on the movies.
No, we work CIs just like anywhere else.
Wow.
We have drug informants, we have theft informants, and when we use them, they help us out.
So how do you recruit somebody like that? They get like if like let's say somebody they're an accomplice or something, you say, okay, I guess it would probably be up to the prosecuting attorney or something, like, hey, this his first offense. He's not really a bad guy. Maybe he could be somebody we could get on the inside. He knows all these people.
Yeah, we do set up that way through the court system of, we got you just a little bit of methamphetamines or a little bit of a narcotic. Get us to the actual dealer. We know you're just a user. Let's take care of your user charge and get us to the dealer. That does happen. We don't really see that a whole lot anymore. Just because of the way drug charges are kind of dropping off. A lot of what used to be a felony drug charge is kind of dropping to misdemeanor drug charges now.
Really?
Yeah.
Even with like narcotics and stuff?
Yeah, a lot of times. It just depends on the amounts. Amount comes into a big factor of it these days.
And I guess that's on the federal level, right?
No, it's pushed it down from the state level.
Wow.
Yeah. But then you have paid informants. So you may have guys that, they know some good information and they'll be able to get you that information for a little bit of money.
Oh, so it is like the movies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely like the movies. And then a lot of times it's just that trust of, I know, this informant may know that I may look the other way for them a time or two on something simple like driving on suspended or something like that, and they'll give good information and you'll see a lot of guys, they do want to clean up their neighborhoods too. Some of them are just drug users, not necessarily drug dealers,
Right.
So
they may have a problem from an injury or something, and the doctors don't prescribe it or whatever, and they have to buy it off the street and they get caught.
Yeah.
I could see that happening. So one of the questions I wanted to ask, since we're on this topic, how do you guys learn how to drive in high-speed chases?
So you learn that at the academy. You actually have a full-on driving course. It's called Emergency Vehicle Operations. You cut it down to what's called EVOC. But yeah, you learn that. We don't, as regular police officers, you may not get to do as much training as a state trooper does, as far as the driving course part of it, but we all go through that emergency operations.
So do you get to crash cars or?
Try not to crash them. They'll get mad if you crash them. You might go out of the line, so they'll set up cones and barriers and different things. You work on skids. You work on apexes of a curve, and that's how to cut a curve in half and actually take more of a direct path than a curve than what you would going all the way out in a curve. So there's just different things you get to learn while you're down there at the academy.
So do you learn how you see, and there's a lot of them from Arkansas that you see on YouTube of where they're taking the vehicle off the road, like James Ray did, but I think his was head on. But
the pit maneuvers,
where they actually know where to hit the vehicle to make it spin into the median or whatever.
Yeah. So you don't learn as much of that in the basic police academy, but there are other courses you can go to, more advanced courses, pit maneuver courses, and you can go see some really good instructors that'll teach you exactly what you need to be doing.
So do you go to the same academy that like the state police would go to?
No, state police has their own academy.
Okay.
As far as basic police officers, all your police departments, your sheriff's office, right now there are 3 main academies. One is down in Camden, Arkansas. They have one in Central Arkansas, which is at Camp Robertson, and then they have another one at Pocahontas. Those are the three main academies. But any large departments like Little Rock, they do their own academy. Fort Smith does their own academy. I think Springdale is still doing their own academy. So you got some of these larger departments that may be putting, 30 or 40 guys out on the streets at a time. They just go ahead and have their own academies.
Wow. So could smaller municipalities like Boonville and other places, could they use Fort Smith Academy, or did...
We could, yeah. And we've done that in the past. There's been a couple officers that worked for us. Cody Smith, he's still working for us. He went to Fort Smith Academy. Trey Stokes, he no longer works for us, but he went to Fort Smith Academy. Levi Luter, that he used to work for the police department, he went there. So we do have a couple that kind of cycle up that way. For me right now, being the chief and the supervisor, I've just been going to whatever one's the next available academy is where I send them, just so I can get them trained and get them back to working as fast as possible.
So they don't have one going on all the time.
Right. So Fort Smith, they may only have one academy a year. And usually I think it starts up around April, May, June time, is usually when they start their academy. So it's like, if I hire somebody in August, do I want to wait till June of next year if I just missed it, to get them in? So I usually look for the next available academy, which Camden, they have... The Camden's kind of the start of law enforcement academies. That's usually where I send most of the guys that I've been hiring is down to Camden.
So what are the advantages of having an officer? I know you can start on the force before you've been to the academy. So what's the advantage of them completing the training at the academy?
It just gets them a little more knowledge. They get a lot more law knowledge. When you're working at the police department, you're getting more on the street knowledge and that more hands-on knowledge. When you go to the actual academy, it's a lot of book work. So you're learning a lot of law. You're learning a lot on the Fourth Amendment, the unlawful search and seizures, different things that pertain to that. So there's a lot of knowledge there to learn. And then you come back and go through an FTO period, a field training period, and get to learn some of that street knowledge.
I see. So without the training, there's more of a liability for the department because they don't know all the laws.
It could be. Yeah. They're just going to, at the academy, they're going to cover a lot more of that. You're going to have a lot of hands-on training and as far as practicals, different things, but you get that real street knowledge once you actually get back out.
So what are some things that you look for in, let's say, you have a young kid that wants to be a police officer? What are some things that you look for in that hiring process?
I'm just looking for that guy that really fits the profile of wanting to make a difference. That's the most I can ask for. Somebody's going to come out, work, and try to leave Boonville and try to leave work better every day. We will be out here and make a difference, whether that's fighting crime and making an arrest or even just being community involved. That to me is the biggest thing.
So I understand the Boonville Night Out is coming up here in a few weeks.
Yeah, August 8th. It'll be on Tuesday night, starting at 7 o'clock. I kind of push it back to the cooler time in the evening. Going to have water slides out there. Going to have slip and slide. We'll have a dunk tank, so different officers will be in the dunk tank. Kids and adults, anybody is welcome, can dunk that officer. And then we'll also have Steve Reed is going to come out again with Reed's Barbecue. They're going to do, I'm not sure if they're doing hot dogs and pulled pork sandwiches, but there'll be a free meal. We just want everybody to come out together and spend some time in the police department.
Are you ready to take control of your financial future? Make your dreams a reality at Blankenship Wealth Management. Our personalized strategies are tailored to your goals and aspirations. Trust in Blankenship Wealth Management for a brighter tomorrow. Blankenship Wealth Management, your path to financial success. Sounds like a good time. I know last year was blistering hot, but people were just everywhere.
Yeah.
Of course, there's lots of water activities too, so that helps when it's hot.
Yeah. And, last year when I started that, it'd been something I wanted to do since I took over as chief. Of course, I took over right in the middle of COVID. So it was like kind of put a damper on things. You're waiting on all the restrictions to come off. And last year I decided, hey, we're just going to do it. We're just going to do it. Let's go. And so we did it. And, at first setting up, getting ready for everything, think, man, ain't nobody going to show up to this. Might be us and a couple of our kids, maybe some close people. And then by the end of the night, we had well over 400 something people out there. I can't remember how many hot dogs and how many pounds of pulled pork that Steve had done, but it was just wiped out. I mean, I had to call him. I was like, hey, can we get more food? You know, which he brought us more stuff down there because we were just going through it so fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't realize so many people could stand on 2nd Street between Broadway.
It's going to be, I've been going down there and I've been talking to the mayor. Now with the downtown park being done, you know, we're going to have a little more room. So I've been trying to figure out where I want to put everything and be ready for that night so we can get everything set up for everybody.
Are you going to have Brad doing the music? Or
yeah, so we're going to just do a playlist of music. We'll have it set up, just playing. I didn't want to, you know, Brad helps me out quite a bit. He's our IT guy, plus he helps dispatch. And I want him to be able to be involved with people and walking around and visiting people. So I just asked him to help us set up a little live music that's just going to play it when not live. It'll be a playlist of music.
Right. Be like a DJ.
Yeah.
So before we started, you said that you had a story about a search warrant that you were going to tell a story last time, but you couldn't think of one right off the cuff. Kind of
caught me off the guard last time. And then as soon as I leave, you know, things start popping in my head. I thought of this one story. So we were getting ready to do a search warrant, and this guy we had been watching for a little while, knew he had drugs. Heath Chambers. Let me set up the story here. So this guy ends up getting arrested down in Waldron. We already have a search warrant in hand, but he gets arrested the night before we're going to do the search warrant down in Waldron. So Heath Chambers is out working that night. He ends up sitting on the house all night long just to make sure no one's coming, taking anything out of the house, destroying evidence or any of that stuff. So he's sitting there all night long. Everybody comes in the next morning because it's a daytime search warrant. You can't do it in the middle of the night. So we all come back in the next morning, get our game plan together, and we go up there to that house to do the search warrant. Well, going up to the front door, it's me, Heath Chambers, Brandon Singh, and Cody Smith. And Cody had decided in our pregame plan there, you know, when we do a search warrant in this area, we don't have SWAT team and stuff. It's just a couple of us guys get together and say, we're going to do this. Mm-hmm. So we kind of get a plan together. Well, Cody decides that he wants to have what we call the thumper, which is the door breacher. And so he wants to hit the door and knock the door in. So I ride up there with Heath. Me and Heath pull up there. Brandon and Cody are together. We get up there to the front door. Me and Heath go up to there to the front door. Heath has got his rifle in his hand. I'm behind him with my pistol. We go up and we set up and we're waiting on Cody and Brandon. Well, they still hadn't got out of the car yet. And so I look back over my shoulder and Cody is fighting, getting the thumper, the door breacher, out of the back of the car. And we've been up there, you know, a couple of seconds or so. Feels like minutes, you know, when you're waiting in that intense situation.
And this is during the daytime.
This is early in the morning, during the day, you know, and Heath had been up all night. So I tell Heath, I was like, kick it, Heath, just kick the door. So Heath goes to kick the door, and the door is solid. Yeah. So here comes Heath flying backwards. And I think, you know, he's tired. He's been up all night. He's got this AR in his hand. And in my mind, I'm picturing, oh my gosh, this AR is going to go off. There's going to be rounds going everywhere. And luckily I'm able to help catch Heath. He gets his footing back underneath him. But at that time, Cody and Brandon are up on the front porch. Cody takes that thumper, that door breacher, and he hits the door. Boom, boom, boom. The door is solid. It's not budging at all. And Cody looks at Brandon and sings like, here, you try. So he hands it off. And Brandon's standing there with his pistol in his hand because we're all getting ready to go in this house. So Brandon has to put away his pistol. And he gets a hold of it and he starts the same thing. Boom, boom, boom. And he's just hitting that door one after another. And the door is not budging at all.
Wow.
Yeah. So Brandon just keeps on boom, boom, boom. Well, he's hit the door so many times that the whole door has broke off the door jamb and starts to kind of fall open. Just the door's solid and it just kind of falls forward. And we're all 3 or 4 of us standing there, and you look in, there's 2 girls in the living room just looking at us. And so we start yelling at them, get on the ground, get on the ground, get on the ground. Well, by that time, the door just falls back shut again. So then Brandon started having to hit that door again. He'd break it loose again. That thing would start falling forward. Same thing. We're yelling at those girls, get on the ground, police department, search warrant, get on the ground, get on the ground. They're not doing anything. You know, they're just looking at us like we're a bunch of dummies. And that door falls shut again. Well, finally, we figured out just to push that momentum and keep going through. So is that Brandon hits it again, gets that momentum going into the house. We all just push that door into the house, get in there. Well, it turns out they had took like this first generation treadmill and put it up against the door.
Oh, wow.
Like this early 80s, 90s model treadmill. Oh, it was solid. And they had just barricaded that door. And that's what we were pushing against. Having to get back into that house.
So the thumper thing, is it kind of like the post hole?
Kind of, but it's a lot bigger. It's probably about it's probably 5 or 6 inches in diameter. Probably about 2.5 foot long. It's got 2 big old metal handles on top of it, and just a solid piece of filled pipe. It's pretty heavy. But it does the job. But
so was the treadmill
was just Well, he wasn't there, but the 2 girls were there. And we got some little bit of product, but you always have these older guys in law enforcement, and which at that time working for DTF was Joe McPatterson. Do you remember him?
Mm-mm.
He worked for the sheriff's office for a little while, but he still is the director of our drug task force in this area for the 15th district. Him and Tom DeLay were both working for DTF. Well, we're in the living room, and those 2 suckers just come walking in the back door, and they're like, "Oh, the back door is wide open."
Oh,
here we had to fight our way into this house. It was pretty funny, just in that moment, that time, and then Cody looking at Brandon, it's like, "Here, you try."
So, and the girls didn't move the whole time?
No, they were just there in the living room. I guess in that shock of not knowing, fight or run kind of deal.
Yeah. Yeah, they just froze.
Yeah, just froze up.
Yeah, I would probably do the same thing.
Yeah.
But the treadmill, the girls moved the treadmill there? Or
at some point, somebody put that treadmill in front of that front door, whether he did it or they did it. They probably knew we were onto them.
So what's the craziest call that you've gotten that I know, being chief, you don't have to work all hours of the night anymore, but I'm sure if it's a really big call, you'll probably get somebody will give you a call, right?
Yeah, there's always something, maybe somebody barricade up in a door or in a house and need a little assistance here and there, which we just had a death investigation. I was actually out just this morning right after church. We had to go by, and it ended up being a natural thing, but the way the scene was set up and at first looking at it, the officer wasn't sure what had quite happened. So we just left that about 1:00. So there's always getting called out on something, but in that, I don't know what's the most surprising call I've ever been on, but I think of some of the dumb calls you get sent on and some of those dumb, easy criminals.
Right.
And this has been several years ago. Get a call. I'm still working patrol. Get a call that a guy's house had been broke into, and the way his house is set up, he's got one of those old style carports that has the utility room off the carport. There's got a washer and dryer, and he had some fishing gear stored away in there, and he had a boat out back that he had the fishing gear in, and the guy that had broke in stole some of that gear and went through the boat and stuff like that. Well, we were looking at his cameras, and he had a really good camera system. And we're looking at the cameras, and at first you look at the face, and you're like, I don't recognize that guy, But then this guy's shirtless, and he turns around, and across the top of his back, he has his last name tattooed. So then it's like, well, this is simple, And as soon as you see that last name, you're like, oh, I know who that is. Able to go get him picked up, easy case to solve.
Wow. So how does the law enforcement differ here than it would in other places?
I don't know if we differ a whole lot. One thing about working in a small area the way that we are versus a big city is our officers are our investigators. They are our entry teams, so working in a small area, people think, well, there won't be as much action. Well, you actually get surprised at how much action there is just right here in this little town.
Mm-hmm.
And then being a patrolman in this area, you get to be right there in all of it. That's how I've done most of my learning is I was able to be right there. Whereas you go to a big city, you may respond to a call, say, oh, this is going to need to be investigated. I'm going to call out the CID team. They're going to investigate it, and then you're done with it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here, you're right there, boots on the ground the whole time with them. I'm always asking guys to help us out on different things and cases. And same thing with that entry teams doing search warrants and things like that. You get to do that here. Whereas you go to a big city, you're going to have a SWAT team that's put together that you have to try out for them to get onto where, we take what we got and put them to work.
You mentioned that the warrant that you had was a daytime warrant. So in order for it to be a nighttime warrant or like a no-knock raid or something like that, what are the factors that go into that? I know the judge is the one that decides that, right? Or is it a policy thing?
The judge is going to decide it, but it's kind of a law thing. You're going to have reasons for that no-knock. Either it's going to be such a high-tense situation that you need to be able to have the surprise on that person, or there may be some evidence that's going to be destroyed that you need that surprise to be able to get in the door. Nighttime search warrant, same kind of deal. But a nighttime search warrant could also be, say you've had a murder in the middle of the night at 1 o'clock in the mornings. Well, then that's going to be classified too as a nighttime search warrant to be able to get you into that residence in the middle of the night. Even though the murder's been committed in there, you're going to have a search warrant in order to process the scene completely.
So if the neighbor said, "Yeah, we heard gunshots and there's people yelling in the house," would that not be probable cause to go in, or would you still
to go in and do the initial emergency search just to see what's kind of happened in that house, and things that built up to it, but to go in and completely process and search any small areas, stuff like that, you're going to have a search warrant.
Okay, that makes sense. So what is your leadership type? I know I may have asked you that before, but to be, obviously in the seat that you sat, are you the longest serving chief right now, or was it Stan Campbell?
I'm not sure who's been the longest serving. I want to say Al was close to 15 years.
Really?
I think Al took over in 2006.
Okay.
Well, he worked for the PD for 15 years. So I want to say he left in 2017 or 18 is when he left. He took over as chief in 2006. So he probably had 10 or 11 years. I'm not sure on Stan how long he was the standing chief. I'm just going into year 3.
Yeah. So your leadership style, is that something that you saw from previous chiefs and you're like, hey, this works, so I'm going to do it? Or did you say, I think this would work better, and so this is how I'm going to do it? Or is there a policy of how? I'm sure there's probably a amalgamation of all the above, but what would your style be?
My style is just that servant style, is kind of the way I see myself. As far as I've taken what this person's done, what that person's done, and kind of mashed up, make my own little thing. That I like to keep the positivity in the workplace. I've worked for people before that morale just gets lost real quick. And I try to make sure that morale stays up, especially, that this job doesn't pay a whole lot. There's not a whole lot of benefits to it. And most of the time, people want you there, but then people don't want you there, So it's, even somebody that says we need police, when you pull them over for speeding, they don't want the police no more.
Right, right.
So, I try to keep that morale up and just keep everybody encouraged. And I try to project that, I feel like, in myself to keep everybody going.
Yeah, that's one thing that really stands out is the community involvement. Since you've been chief, there's more, like I said, community involvement. We see you you're at every city council meeting. If there's events going on, there's always somebody from the force there. We had a concert, for a fundraising concert before we built the stage, our first fundraiser. Actually, there were officers there for the PD, and yeah, there were going to be people there, quite a few people there, but that's not something that really, you didn't have to have somebody crowd control, but they were there to help out, to help tell the people that, direct the people where to go and stuff like that. So I think you've done a really good job of community, like you said, community involvement. And that probably goes hand in hand with boosting morale because if you have a job and your job is to, like you said, write tickets, or you're always doing the stuff that maybe is not the funnest thing to do, if there's not a balance there of things that are fun, that would tend to sink the morale in a workplace pretty quick.
Yeah, it does. And I've seen that. Like I said, I've seen that in the past and different things. And for me, the community involvement is something I've pushed for quite a bit. because I didn't see that early on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something as the chief that I want to see. And I want to, we always call Boonville a good hometown,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I want to keep Boonville a good hometown. I always want to work towards that, making things as best as I can. You know, me and my wife early on, we had opportunities to go move off, go everywhere else, but I seen other people that were moving off, and, you know, me and her got to talking, and it was like, we don't want to do that. We don't want to be the people that move off and then come back 20 years later and then grab how the town turned out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we wanted to stay here and make a difference, and which has been fortunate for us. You know, we've been very blessed. You know, she's worked at First Western Bank for several years now. I think she's right at 15 years at First Western Bank, maybe
Wow.
on 16. You know, I've been able to work my way up at the police department. You know, we've been fortunate that way, and we continue just to try to make Boonville better. Both of us. You know, she's involved with the Boys and Girls Club, sits on that board. You know, we just want to see Boonville, like I said, just keeping it a good hometown.
So have you noticed any, we've had several people move in with the housing market and stuff like that. People move in from California, people moving in from other states. Have you noticed an increase in crime due to that, or maybe anything different at all? That
No, the same criminals. You know, you always hate that about, you look at our numbers. Like I can tell you today, I just went by the office and pulled numbers, and as of today, being the 23rd of July, we're at 288 arrests. Okay, and that sounds like a big number. When you factor in 365 days in the year,
Mhm.
we're already at 288, you know, which we average about 2 arrests per day for this town of 4,000, a little under 4,000, you know. But if you break that chart down and start looking, a lot of times it's going to be the same 100 people over and over or so, you know. So that generational kind of people that we deal with, the whole family we deal with, but Boonville gets a bad rap for it. But, you know, as far as some of the new families, we really haven't had a whole lot of them causing any issues yet.
Mm-hmm. You know, you mentioned that you have repeat offenders. What are your thoughts on the new program that's going in at the county for the drug treatment side of things? You think that's
Oh, definitely, yeah. Which, you know, Sheriff Massey, he's been working on that for a while, getting the guidance counseling in there and different programs going. Which, you know, we have a great program here on the south side with Celebrate Recovery. I was just out with them Tuesday night. They had a little event called Dunk the PO, which is for probation officer, but PD was out there and the sheriff's office was out there, and, you know, celebrate with those people that are in that recovery stages. And there were several out there, you know, that 5 years ago, I would ever thought they'd be in recovery,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so it was nice to see that there were so many of them that have turned their lives around, and that program is making a difference right here in our town, you know, because, you know, you start looking at that, the drug problem, if you can wipe that out, you'll wipe out a lot of crime as well, you know,
Mm-hmm.
as far as the personal crime of having stuff stolen and having houses broke into.
Right. What do you think's the deciding factor? I know you can't boil it down to one thing, but there as like a common thread of these folks that are addicted to substances, or do you think it's they have to hit rock bottom, or do you think it's they have to find somebody who cares, or do you think that they maybe they have to want to do it, or what's the deciding?
It's a mix of all that, you know, but the end game is they have to want the change.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a family member, if you have somebody in drug issues and in addiction, you can try and try and try for them,
Mm-hmm.
but until they want that change, they're going to stay the way they are. And that's the way we all are, right?
Right.
So, I mean, when it comes down to it, they have to want it.
Right.
And then making those resources available to them when they want it, you know, is what we can do as family members or as a community.
What would your advice be to like somebody that has a family member and they, let's say there's a grandmother and she notices she's maybe you said it's a generational thing typically. And a lot of times you'll get the parents maybe in jail and the grandma or the grandparents are having to raise the kid, and they notice that they're kind of going down the same path. What would your advice be to that grandmother or grandfather?
Just in what I've observed over the years, and which it's hard to do sometimes when they start going down such a path, is to remind them that they're loved.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what I see in this drug world, from what I've seen in this area and different things, it's such an inviting world. because it doesn't matter what their past is, what they've done. That world is there for them,
Mm-hmm.
and it suckers them in. So and a lot of times if you started using drugs and your family shunned you out, pushed you to the side, I can see how that world right there is going to be, oh, this person's going to give me something, this give me a place to stay, and it just pulls you back into that, but you also don't want to be an enabler. So it's kind of a hard line to walk on that. But I think, definitely reminding them they are loved and you do care about them can hopefully one day spark that change back into them.
I think part of the solution is community involvement with law enforcement, because if the grandmother knows Cody Smith personally, if she sees one of the officers that maybe patrols the neighborhood, she might say, he maybe stop and talk to her, and she may be like, give him some information, not rat her grandson out, but in a way he would see the signs and know to look out and maybe save that person from getting in a situation with one of the bad guys that he wouldn't have before.
Yeah. And which we do have relationships like that. Just something like you've mentioned, we've had grandparents before that have taken their grandkids back in. They may not even raised them. Their actual parents may have raised them, but when that kid got out of the house, things started spinning. So grandma, grandpa takes them in, tries to get them off the street. We've had some that have called us before and it's like, hey, can you just kind of come look in their room a little bit, or I may have found something, I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
and just that concern. And,
Yeah.
And you can say, hey, you better straighten up. Your grandma's going to get you out of here. Like you don't need to be doing this in your grandma's house.
Mm-hmm.
And, but it's just in that community policing feel. And, with being that community involvement for the police department, I like that we can get out there and maybe in some of those generational situations that some of those kids, they're taught that police officers are bad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't teach your kid that police officers are bad, but yet you're still going to bring them out to community events to spend time with the police officer.
Right.
So I like that we can be out there and do that and change that presence that these kids may be told at home. And it's always been kind of comical to me that we've had parents that call us, they want us to come discipline their kids.
Yeah.
And it's like, we want to be there for your kids. And if they're in a bad situation, we want them to run to law enforcement, not run away from us because they think they're going to get spanking from a cop.
It's interesting the way you said that, because you kind of brought us into the situation where the officer is talking to that kid. You need to straighten up. Your grandma is worried about you. You're going to get yourself in trouble. You might get kicked out of here. When you see all these videos online of officers mistreating people, and that's really the ones that get the most views. It's not that. And I think that speaks to the type of officer you're looking for. You're looking for somebody that wants to better the town. The videos you see are from these big cities or whatever, where they hire these outside officers and they come in and that's just another perp. They speak to them, like garbage, or they probably don't like their job or don't like themselves or whatever. And they're not talking to them like a human being. Whereas if you're from the community, you probably she has a relationship with the people in the community. So you're not going to be talking to the people like that because they're part of your tribe, so to speak.
Yeah. And most of what we have is that way, but we are, if you need to be enforced and we're going to be there to help straighten you out.
Right.
Too.
Right. Yeah. It's a, you have, I always say you have a hammer and you have a velvet glove.
Yeah. Yeah. But
there's a time to use the hammer, but there's also a time for the velvet glove.
Yeah. And it's like, I think the last time I was here, I kind of touched on that a little bit. There's situations, and not every situation needs to be treated the same. Mm-hmm. Although, if you look at training, you're supposed to keep it that way, but everything's situational. The same old lady that you just pulled over speeding, she may not need as much of a talking to as the guy you just got a pound of meth off of.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, back to the craziest call. Have you had any calls that were that you would say maybe paranormal in nature.
That sounds like when you get Heath Chambers on this show for you, because he is definitely into that. He's got some stories there for you. Since I used to growing up, I loved horror flicks. I just love anything scary and stuff like that. But you start doing this job, and those movies are no longer fun because you get into some dark places by yourself in the middle of the night, and your mind starts running. So since I've gotten into this, I kind of stopped watching any movies like that. So, but definitely Heath Chambers. You need to speak with him. He can get you on some of that paranormal stuff.
So you never got a call to go up into a house where somebody said there was somebody there and there really wasn't anybody there, or?
Yeah, I mean, we've had some calls like that. You go search a house and don't see anything. I'll tell you a story about Heath Chambers. So, back in 2012, 2013, in that time, I was already working for the city. Heath was still working at the sheriff's office. There for a little while, the sheriff's office was shorthanded. They would have to have guys on call. They didn't always have a deputy out. So from midnight to 8 a.m., they'd be on call. And it was Heath's night to be on call. I was working nights for the city, still out, and it's probably 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Heath calls me one night, and he's like, "Hey, you mind going out just north of town? There's a old lady out there that always says someone's in her yard, but no one's ever in her yard. You mind just go and check that out for me?" He's like, "I don't want to come all the way out, if it's not going to be anything." I was like, "Oh, yeah, no problem, man. I'll go do that." So I go out north of town, pull up to the yard. Well, the dew had already settled, and I can see that there's tracks all in this lady's yard. Somebody's out here, or something's been out here. There's something going on out here because you can just see all over the place. You couldn't really make out what they were. They're just all over, not really in a pattern. And so I get out, shine my light around, start walking around, kind of pick out the best tracks I can, and start following them around the house. When I go around behind the house, there's a chain link fence right there, and there's a row of holly bushes through there. And I'm looking around, the tracks kind of end right there, and don't see anything. I'm shining a flashlight, just kind of looking all over, and I look down, I see something laying underneath those bushes, and it's kind of mid-size, white. Can't really make out what it is. I'm like, that's probably just a dog or something. Well, by the time I'm thinking that in my mind, it stands straight up, and it's somebody.
Oh,
so I end up getting that guy out of the bushes and go ahead and place him under arrest. And I bring him down to the police department. I call Heath. I was like, "Hey, you're actually going to have to come out because there was somebody in. This old lady. There's actually somebody in her yard tonight."
Maybe it's the same person. He just knows where to hide.
Yeah,
the dude wasn't there before.
Maybe not. Oh, we were able to get him.
So what was he doing there?
He was just drugged up. He really had no clue where he's at. I think he was actually living like 3 or 4 houses up the road somewhere on 23 North, but he was just in the wrong yard and just completely lost, in that drugged out state.
Well, is there anything else coming up that you might want to talk about?
Yeah, we just got that night out. Of course, we're getting closer towards the end of the year. We're going to start fundraisers for Shop the Cop. Coming into November, we'll have our chili lunch that we've been doing every year since we started Shop the Cop. So we'll pick a date for that, and I'm try to get that set up. I don't know with losing a couple of guys. I've been wanting to bring back the dodgeball tournament that we hosted several years ago. But being short-handed, short-staffed, I don't know if we'll be able to get that going again. As soon as I can, get everything rolling. It may be to the point where I just put everything together, host it, and the PD doesn't have a team kind of deal. And we'll let everybody else play and just host it and be there for the event. But, just last week, we were up at the Boys and Girls Club. We took me, Cody Smith, and a couple of guys from patrol. We all went up to the club and played dodgeball up there. And man, them kids, they got us. They're taking us out. Of course, it was like 40 of them to 5 of us.
Yeah.
So we got to spend some time with the kids up there. The Boys and Girls Club was a good time for us.
That's awesome.
Sore for a couple of days afterwards, but we had a blast.
So what is your biggest fundraising event for that Shop with the Cop? Would it be the chili cook-off or the chili supper?
Yeah, the chili's been bringing in quite a bit for us. We usually bring in about 1,300 off of that. Really, the biggest support's just been the donations. We have a couple of individuals that come out every year. They make large donations to us. Been very fortunate for them. We have a lot of businesses. They'll come by, and every little bit helps. In which we've been able to grow that program several times. I do file a grant with Walmart. I've been able to get. They cut me back just a little bit this year. I only got $3,000 from them this year.
Wow.
But we had been getting $3,500 from them. Of course, Brett Chappell over at Magazine, we had just done the golf tournament, brought in some funds for that to help on their side of things. And we're just looking at different ways of building these programs out and keep them rolling,
I seen the video of them, you guys that were shooting the golf ball with through an AR. How many people opted for that?
I'm not sure how many opted for that, but I do know that one guy was able to shoot that. And I'm trying to think I think they're actually on a par 5 is where they were shooting from. But he was able to shoot that, and when he had shot it, it hit the cart track and bounced, and the ball landed about 10 feet from the green.
Oh, well.
Yeah. So getting to play the ball from right there.
Yeah, it was only like $20 to use that, right?
I think we cut it down. To about $10 on the day of the event, just to try to get people to do it. And,
wow. Why would you not use it on every hole?
Yeah. Some of those you might be able to get it right up there next door to it.
Like a par 3 or something.
Yeah.
The shop with the cop, the donations, if somebody wants to make that, they just come to the PD and do that? Or do you guys have a Cash App or Venmo or something there?
I haven't started anything like that yet. I probably need to get on that and get that going. But I also have an account set up at First Western. You can stop by there. It's the Boonville Community Policing Fund. Anybody wants to make one directly to them, they can. But we also, if some people want it as a tax write-off, we can get you a receipt. If you just let me know, we can get you a receipt on that so you can hold it off on your taxes as well.
That's cool. So you have the Shop with a Cop. Is that a national program that you guys kind of opt into, or does it have like...
So we kind of started our own program. That's why I put it into that Boonville Community Policing Fund.
Okay.
And so we operate those funds as our own. And that Boonville Community Policing helps me fund like the night out, different things. Throughout the year, we may have a family that comes up, maybe on hard times, could use a little bit of something, use a night to stay. I kind of use those funds as that too. But your money that's donated for Shop of the Cop goes to Shop of the Cop. I do other things in order to help out with that other stuff.
Very good. All right. Well, it's already been pretty close here to an hour, so I won't keep you any longer. Is there anything else you want to cover?
I can just give a standard update, or you want to?
Yeah, let's. How many lockouts were there?
So on the vehicle unlocks, let's give a kind of an update of where we're at. Reports, we're at 366 reports for the year. Vehicle accidents within the city limits, we've worked 42 accidents for the city of Boonville. Unlocks, there's been 106 suckers out there that have left their keys in their vehicle. But no, police. Now that's a service free of charge that the police department offers. Jerry Wilkins actually started that several years ago of helping people out. We did there for a little while, asked people to make donations to the Boys and Girls Club, but we weren't really seeing a whole lot of donations go to them. So we just leave it as a free service. Arrest, we're at 288, and cleanups. That's been a big thing this year. We're really focused on that. And really trying to find out the best route to streamline it. So far this year, we're at 67 yards that we've served cleanups to, and that's not on count of the ones that an officer may go by there that they just need the yard simply mowed, and he's like, "Hey, will you please mow your yard?" Instead of actually serving the letter and doing all that. We've had several found guilty in court that we've had to write tickets to, but then we run into what do you do after that fact? And like some of the yards that we've wrote tickets to and they've been found guilty in court, well, they may have 15, 20 vehicles, old washers and dryers. So then it's like, where's the city come up with the funds to haul that stuff off? And then if you do haul it off to go to the salvage yard, what do you do with that money? Because technically that's not the city's money. That's not the city's property. So it's lot of legality in it, trying to figure out
Mm-hmm.
how to get all that done and get it processed.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people don't understand that, but we ask, be patient.
Mhm.
We're on it. We're trying to figure out what's the best route to keep the town looking good, but also we don't want the city to end up in some sort of lawsuit over
Same.
something. So,
Yeah.
that's been something I've been working on for several years, and Mayor Baker coming in, it's a strong point for him too. So we're really focused on it, and hopefully we'll get something figured out.
Yeah, you can definitely tell a difference. Now, the biggest one that I noticed, of course, that's closest to me is right down here off Broadway. And we get the one on the east side cleaned up. Somebody bought it. They, renovated it. And then the one across the street burns.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you do?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that stuff like that happens. But, like Mayor Baker, he's already spoke to them,
Mhm.
and they got plans to get that cleaned up. So hopefully that won't take too long and
Good deal.
won't be too much of an eyesore.
So what if a local person decided they wanted to open a pop-a-lock or something like that? What would the course of action or the standard operating procedure be for, like, if somebody called the PD for a lockout? Would they say, hey, we've got a business that's doing that now, or how would that work?
That would we'd have to discuss that if the city wanted to stop offering that service or not,
Mhm.
and allow that person to come in and start making a little money. That's something we'd probably have to discuss between me, the mayor, and the city council, and just see if we wanted to give that option out there or not.
And I know that 106, that's, of course, if you did that, what is a normal unlock cost? Like $100?
Yeah, I'm thinking in Fort Smith, I mean, they're
Yeah.
probably going to cost you quite a bit.
So, I mean, you wouldn't make a killing, but, it would be something.
Yeah.
Something for somebody to do, a
Yeah.
job. All right, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. Give us an update. Again, the night out is August the 8th at
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
It'll be downtown at the park. We'll be out there from 7 to 9 or until we run out of everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, we hope everybody comes out and has a good time.
Very good. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you.